people who came in, and they sat there, and they all got seats, and, you know, they closed up the door again. But by this point, you've had exhaust, because by this point, the propellers are, they're grinding the engines a little bit, just make sure they're all nice and warm. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so we're like, okay, there's like 2 seats open. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay, we're going to be leaving soon. At this point, I'm pretty nauseous because I'm smelling sweet fruit, people, and, for God's sakes, exhaust. Which is, it literally makes me slightly nauseous now.
Just thinking about
Just thinking about this entire cacophony of smell, sound, and everything. It's very difficult because the entire flight was me just sitting here, don't hurl, don't hurl, don't hurl, holding your hand, saying, oh God, don't hurl, don't hurl. That was all of it. And then when we finally got there, I was like, I need Gatorade. For God's sakes, I need liquids. But it got worse. 2 more times we had. So they sat there and they're like, okay, so a head pops out again, and they sit there, they hold up a finger, and they're like, yeah, come on out. So somebody else comes out, and they get on the plane, and then we're talking. It's like 3 minutes from takeoff. Mm-hmm. You know, you can see up into the cargo pit. The only space between us and the pilot was like a sheaf of paper. That was what was between them and us. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's totally a thing. And so they sat there and they're like, one of the engines has the propeller spinning on the side that the door's not on. And head pops out one more time. And sits there and just like holds up a single finger. And they sit there and they open up the door and they come in and they sit there and they look around and they're like, they come back out, they nod, come, and they sit there and they wave them in. Well, the woman that came out...
Oh boy. You remember this in so much more detail than I do.
Yeah, it was kind of difficult for me to forget. She was a large woman, okay? She was very large. I'm going to leave it at that. But she darn near took up a seat and a half. I mean, luckily she was sitting next to a really, really skinny person. But
it all works out that way.
She almost couldn't fit the belt. And they didn't have, like, a belt extension.
Of course not.
So it was kind of like it'll be okay. It was a tight fit.
That's what she said.
You know, and I sat there thinking about it. I was like, you know, like, this is all after the fact. You're just like, you know, was she wearing her seatbelt? I don't know if she was. I don't know if she wasn't. You know, to some degree, fuck it. I don't even fucking care. Because I literally couldn't because it was all I could do to not vomit at that point. So, you know, I was like, you know, good on her. That's wonderful. There's Radaway. Or a blood pack.
And some caps.
But yeah, and I was just like, this is just insane. Mm-hmm. On a large scale. And yes, I do recall this in far greater detail. There's something about being on the verge of throwing up that just sits there and like chisels everything
in your memory.
I can remember the couple who was sitting next to us in the lounge of the airport, which was a single room, it had 2 gate terminal things, but only 1 door. Okay. And I can tell you that the man was wearing a green shirt and the woman was wearing yellow. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that, and I'm pretty darn sure that I'm accurate on this. I think it might have been anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, but, you know, so we finally got to Nassau where we thank God. And, you know, it was not the smoothest flight because of the weight dimensions, because we've been on other flights on small aircraft. Mm-hmm. And they've actually sat there and been like if you've ever sat there and flown on a Cessna, they sit there and they're like, how much do you weigh? And then
They try
sit
to
there,
balance it out.
Well, they're like, how much do you weigh? And they sit there and they take your luggage and they weigh that. And they're like, okay, this is how we're going to stack it. We're going to sit there and put this luggage here and this luggage there and this luggage here. Okay.
As a side note, we're navigating my railways right now.
Yes, you are. And so then you have all of that. And then you sit there. And when it comes to the Cessna, everybody goes out. And a Cessna usually holds about, 12 or 14 people?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Somewhere about there. And they sit there and they look at you and they're like, okay, you, and you. Or you and you. Okay, you're going in last. You're going into the front seat next to the pilot. You two. You're going in the next seats. And they specify which side you go on.
Yeah, they try to balance it out.
They balance that shit. That was not the case in where we were for that event, for that trip. But at the same time, I never felt nauseous, even though we were drinking before we flew, because we weren't going to be driving anywhere afterwards. But I never. That was a very unique situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget it. I'm both horrified and entertained by it. But it's kind of a poignant story that just I guess on one hand you're just kind of horrified at the lack of science that went into loading the plane.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of crossed with the whole, it's really impressive that they sit there and they're like, yeah, we got space, bring them on.
Mm-hmm.
And you always sit there and you wonder in the back of your mind, like, was this a case of, was part of the difficulty of the flight, because it was kind of like an up and down kind of flight. I mean, it seemed really rough to me. I don't trust myself on remembering that because I was inebriated severely.
I should probably put on some armor instead of wearing a gray suit.
Are you going to put on the sea captain's hat?
I'm tempted, but maybe not just yet.
Okay, fine. Be that way. Well, yeah, so, it's one of those cases of, I kind of wonder if the fact that there was no regard to weight distribution that led to the fact that, when we got to, when we got into the air, it seemed so rough to me, but that could also be alcohol talking.
Could have been.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. So our goal right now is to go ahead and rescue this Bobrov brother and Travis, since he's probably in trouble by now. There's a little settlement off to our side here, but we'll deal with them later. Don't want to get all mixed up in anybody else's kind of business. And this is actually a good bit of a walk.
As an aside, honey, you know that moment when you go to the restroom and you're not sure that you forgot to turn off your mic?
Yeah?
I totally pulled a high school teacher, which actually leads to an entertaining story.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, I was like, when you go to use the restroom, you still have your headset on and you don't know that you've turned off your mic.
Well, what are y'all hearing?
Well, you're all are hearing or you're all not, but I'm telling. So, humorous story that comes from that is one of my siblings is hearing impaired, and in high school,
Travis?
in elementary school and high school,
Hey,
my sister had a hearing aid. Okay, but it wasn't just a hearing aid. There was also what they called phonic ear setup. I believe that's what they were called. I mean, it's been years. But, she had this thing called phonic ear, which was essentially...
You're here. So this is it. Odds are, if they've
Which-
got Vadim, he's inside. We're gonna be okay, right?
Well, I'll be okay, but I don't know about you.
Keep a cool head, okay? Don't think about it too much.
Okay, right. Sure. Yeah. Any last minute advice? I've never done anything like this.
Well, the world's greatest spy certainly has.
Stay behind me.
I go in first, and you stay behind me. Watch my back.
Okay. Whatever you say.
Those are actually good notes for this kid.
Yep.
But yeah, so my sister, she had this thing called phonic ear, and what it was her hearing aids were set up on a system that you could sit there, that the teachers could sit there and wear, that would amplify their voice and transmit that to her hearing aids. So she would actually be able to hear them rather than just, well, not hear them. And one day after, I believe it was their science teacher, who was my science teacher some years later, a few years later, that they sat there and they so essentially each teacher had to sit there and pass off the phonic ear device, and it was a device that sat there and it hung around the neck about mid chest level, so it would sit there and would catch the voice and amplify it.
Side note, right up Main Street.
Okay. Anyway, so she sat there, and one particular day, she sat there and she left science class, and her science teacher was supposed to pass it off to, I don't know, her English or history teacher or whoever. That was all good and whatever. And so she sat and she went to her next class, whatever that was supposed to be, and all of a sudden she's sitting in the classroom, or maybe she was going to science class, and he had just gotten it. And all of a sudden she hears, out of nowhere, and then urination. Okay? And, you know, each of our teachers had a very, very specific voice that you would sit there and be able to pick out of a crowd. I could probably pick out their voices out of a crowd today.
Bowling for beer bottles.
There's no beer in them.
Yep.
Fucking pansies.
Well, no, that's fair enough. You're not going to sit there and bowl at a full beer bottle. You could be drinking that. Also, Archer here is sober, so we can't have that.
I'd get on that. But yeah, so she sat there, and she's a little bit slack-jawed because, she's like 15, 16 years old, and she's just heard her teacher
Having
taking a piss.
A very relieving one.
A very relieving piss. Apparently he'd been holding it for a while, and, you could tell. And she was just like, she was flabbergasted, 'cause she was like,
what did I just hear?
What did I just hear? But she didn't tell anybody because, well, this isn't the first time that kind of thing had happened to her. At this point in her life, when she was back in 3rd grade, which was like the first time that she got the whole phonic ear system, it was hilarious because in 3rd grade we had two teachers. Okay. Miss Grody and Miss Courtwright.
Okay.
Okay. One of them has passed away.
Yeah, with Travis.
One of them has passed away.
Good dog meat.
In years since. But, I don't know, that one of them might still be in the here and now and kicking. But one of them has passed on. But there was always kind of a rivalry, and there were only the two 3rd grade teachers. And this was like early on in the phonic ear system, so it was using radio waves.
Okay.
And my sister was in Miss Grody's class, okay, which always did like the Hawaiian program and stuff like that. And then you had
Really?
So then you had the fun of the other teacher, and there was always kind of this rivalry. And I remember being in Miss Grody's class, and but they were right next door to each other. And every now and then, Miss Courtwright and her class would sit there, and they would tune their radio in such a way that they could sit there and they could zoom into her. They could tune into her phonic ear system because they all used radio waves at the time. They hadn't gotten up to a Bluetooth standard or anything like that. You know, this is very old tech.
Yeah.
And so she would sit there and, you know, Mrs. Grody was it to be like, Earth to Lynn, because it's my sister's name. And she'd sit there and she'd be like, what? And she like, because she wasn't paying attention. And they're like, what's going on? Why aren't you paying attention? And what it was the students and the teacher next door were tuning in their radio frequency to her phonic ear system. And they would sit there and they would talk to her and say things, like all kinds of random things to her during class.
Just to mess with her.
Just to fuck with her. Which I totally get. It's hilarious, you know, in retrospect. But you know, when you're a third grader and you're trying to pay attention, but you're not able to pay attention, it's humbling and disconcerting.
Hey there.
Thank you. I didn't know if anyone would come. I thought perhaps this is the end. Thank you. Thank you. You are a true friend.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Vadim. We weren't gonna leave you to these guys.
You are a good man. These idiots had caps and gems just lying around. They did not notice when I filled my pockets. You deserve what I took.
Yes, I do.
Travis, I am surprised to see you here.
Shouldn't be. He thinks of you as a friend.
I'm
Ooh,
glad you're safe.
How did you get roped into
the
this?
Gwyneth brew recipe?
Yep, I'm gonna grab it.
You are full of surprises, my friend.
Anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of like some of the
Shenanigans
some
that
of
were...
the shenanigans that happened.
What a
I mean,
Hey,
my
listen,
sister's multiple years older than
I
me,
wanted to
so
say thanks.
you know, this didn't happen to me, but these are the stories that I've heard,
But I've learned a lot.
which were quite entertaining because I'm sorry, there's nothing more disconcerting than I think it was actually before her science class. Where she sat there and it's just before science class, she hears her teacher take a piss, and then that teacher comes in and doesn't realize that he left the phonic ear on the whole time.
Nice.
That worried about just being on the radio?
Give them some perspective.
Being beaten up, shot at. I can do so much more. And I need to. Anyway, thanks again.
He looks kind of like a fish.
He does.
I think it's his eyes.
Completed
You know
confidence
something?
man.
No, I know what it is. You know what?
Woo,
His
level
eyes-
up.
His eyes totally remind me of like Dory
Okay.
picket fences on the floor.
Ooh, yes, you're right.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, his eyes kind of
I
remind
can
me
now
of
build picket fencing.
Woohoo! I'm sorry. I did not mean to say that quite so loud.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's amazing some of the
Various things.
the various stories. I hope everybody's enjoying those, by the way.
Yeah.
The stories of just kind of the crazy. I mean,
Okay.
I know that I've been told that I have been remiss with my animal stories about, you know, cats, cows, and other creatures.
Mm-hmm.
That I've kind of, you know, kept myself within the realm of only rodent populations. Yeah. And growing up on a farm, there's a lot more. There are a lot of stories that can be shared. Maybe I'll sit there and look for some of the. I'll think about some of the stories that I can share that are pertaining to, you know, Brahmin or. See, we have Brahmin. You know, there's one thing that's actually missing in this game. You never see any pork-based creatures. Which is terrible. And actually, I think that to some degree that's a bit short-sighted. You know? I mean, can you imagine ghoulish pigs. Because, you know, you like to think that pigs are not dangerous. Well, those fuckers are dangerous.
Ah, shit. Well, so much for our glass. Well, that did not end well.
No, that didn't.
Kitty, stay away.
Okay.
You want to deal? And there goes part of my drink. That is like the saddest thing that's ever happened.
Hey, careful, you're flinging. You're flinging things.
Yeah. So, okay, I am back, and a glass just died an untimely death. Yeah. So we found a recipe here.
Let's start with this.
Yeah. No, back, buddy, back. Okay.
You start mopping.
Yes.
Or dabbing or whatever.
Well, we're gonna have to get new glass. That's not good. Okay. So this is not ended well. More towels and something to gather up the glass. Party foul. And and we have an expert lock. Oh, yes. Yeah, what happened was basically the
That's it.
cord on my speaker managed to get caught around a glass.
This is why I usually put mine on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna need more than this.
Yeah.
There's probably glass particulates. I can see them.
Uh-huh. Wow, this was an unexpected ending.
Why don't you pause?
Got it.
This is, like, seriously sad. Okay. So, while we do this, we have a terminal. There's a thing right there. The crew went out to Bad TFL. Was there more there?
Yes, there is.
I had not realized just how much there was there.
We might have to move the couch, honey.
We are probably going to have to move up the couch.
And I need you to actually move.
Okay.
Because there's glass all over here.
Is there...
Let's get under the couch.
Yeah, we have to get that cleared up.
Okay, Jinxie and Rascal, I need you two to move. Why don't you do a save?
I will. I'm just cycling through here.
And I need you to push from over there.
Okay. It's caught up on something.
Jinxie, careful.
So this whole story here with a bunch of brewers and such. Oh, holy crap. Freddy, go back.
And that's why
Idiot
I
cat.
needed-
And I had no idea I had a sock back there.
Well, now you do.
Okay, wow. How does this thing create so much glass?
These are gonna have to be tossed. We'll have to replace them.
Yeah.
Toss them in.
Okay, toss them in there. Wow. What a mess. Yeah, we're actually going to have to finish up here, I think. Just because of timing and everything else. We've got that whole 3-hour limit to work on, and now we've got a cleanup effort. Whoops. So, anyway, we'll pick up next time. And we'll figure out what we want to do from here, because we've got pretty much a shitload of extra quests and things like that. Oh, hey, somebody's room. And a quick level up grab. Now we're sweeping up to make sure that everything is collected. Oh, Rask, we don't need your help. There's all kinds of things that are available, but we'll just go ahead and...
Why don't you hold off on the level up?
Well, I think it's pretty clear, though. We're going to need more endurance so we can get the one that gets rid of radiation from water. And, of course, we have multiple kitties who are going, oh, look, I've never seen this space before because it was under the couch. I want to get in here. And that is the life feline. So we've got... This is the entire list of quests we have right now. We'll deal with the special delivery. We'll get that one. But that's all that we've got available just from going this far. So we'll catch up next time.